Okay, here we go. It is 12:58 in the morning.
Yes.
And I want to welcome all 243 people that were in the room there for a second. And what a game. What a game. Lots to talk about with this game. First, I'm Vince D'Addario. That's my guy, Brian Driscoll. He's down in Tallahassee. I am kicking it here in Granger, watching it on TV like everybody else. And that was quite the game. Lots to get to, Brian. So you know what? We got a couple super chats, actually 3 that we need to get to. Do you want to go and pull those up?
Yep, I'll go ahead and get those now. So first of all, we got John A1, I believe, kicked us off.
Yes.
Actually, his is gone, Vince. I'm already booted way down.
I can get that one.
Yep.
I've got that one in my... There he is. John A1, thank you for the super chat, my guy. He says, glad to be here for the post-game show. Notre Dame scores over 40, but the offensive guard play needs an overhaul. Based on tonight, I want to see Rocco in a rotation. Does Irish Breakdown agree or disagree?
So Irish Breakdown is going to have some thoughts on that tonight, but I want to hold my full stance for that for tomorrow. But from watching it live, John, yes, the guard position needs to get fixed. But honestly, there's not a position. I thought Josh Lugg played relatively well, especially in pass pro, Vince. But I thought overall the offensive line played poorly, and we'll definitely get to that for sure. And John, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. Awesome, I appreciate it very, very much. Got a ton of super chats rolling in, Vince. I'll get to these. Kevin O'Neill. $9.99 super chat. Thank you, my man. 1-0, baby. Door was clutch. How was the atmosphere in Tallahassee, Brian? It was great. It was great atmosphere. Florida State fans are pretty fun. They're pretty relaxed. They're not, there's this Notre Dame guy going, let's go Irish. And the Florida State fans just started doing the, oh, and it's just like, but it was all in good fun. Great atmosphere, loud. Got super quiet when Notre Dame made that big stop late in overtime. When it looked like it, should have been ruled an incompletion, it should have been ruled an incompletion. Some horrible officiating tonight.
Yeah,
but the crowd got super quiet then, and then of course when he missed the field goal, they were like, "Well, we had our chance." But a great environment in Florida State is usually a pretty great environment, no question about it. We've got another super chat down here. We're going to get to these, and then we'll kind of get to our thoughts here real quick. Jacob Dunn. Was the struggle to establish a run game tonight more about personnel or scheme? By the way, okay, almost lost. Oklahoma almost lost Tulane. Nobody needs to be jumping off the ship. Yes, they got the W. Vince, you and I have been saying this. It's openers. Absolutely. There's going to be opener mistakes, and there's a lot of things to clean up and a lot of things we're going to be critical of, but it was the opener. Yes. I'd rather be where Notre Dame is than where where Clemson is.
Sure.
Right? Or where Miami is or North Carolina. They got the W, and we said Florida State was going to be better than they were last year. Notre Dame made Florida State look a little better than they actually are. Which we'll get into, but they got the W, right?
That's the most important. And when it got to a tie game, or when it got to down, when Notre Dame was up 3, at that point, I just wanted to win. And of course, look,
there's going to be stuff and we're going to be critical of tonight, and then of course tomorrow when we watch the film. But again, they got the W, and for all the defense played poorly for a lot of the second half, but when they needed to step up and make a play late, they stepped up and made a play late, right? There was mistakes on offense. The special teams drove me nuts tonight, but when Jonathan Doord needed to make a big kick late, he made it. So, I mean, and that's the key. Jonathan Hilkema with a super chat. Thank you so much for having a post-game show. You are welcome. Mike Huff, I said 268 and 4 touchdowns. Brian, pretty close, right? Bad debut by Freeman. Yeah, Jack Cohn was at 268 for 4 touchdowns, early in the third quarter.
Yes.
And he finished, I think it was 26 of 35, Vince. I'm pulling up the stats now.
I got it right here. He was 26 of 35 for 366 yards, 4 touchdowns, and then he did have a pick, but that was a Hail Mary.
So I don't game. I mean, if Michael Mayer doesn't drop 2 balls that hit him right in the hands, he's over 400 yards.
Good point. Really good point.
Joseph Salvatore with the super chat. Appreciate that very much. Chief Brody says we lose that game with Ian Book. I don't want to say that. We don't know.
I don't want to go there.
Would they have ran the ball, thrown the ball as well? The Ian Book quarterback? No. Would Ian Book maybe been able to turn a couple of those scrambles where Cohn is diving at 5 yards into bigger runs? Perhaps, right? So I don't want to go there. I mean, I think that's a little bit unfair. I will say this: the pass game wouldn't have looked like it did tonight without Jack Cohn.
That I will agree with.
But perhaps the run game would have looked a little better with the Ian Book. I mean, again,
they have to account for.
I think Jack Cohn's a better quarterback than Ian Book. I've said that tonight. Didn't do anything to make me think otherwise. But I don't want to get into this. Oh, they lose this with Ian Book. The one thing Ian Book did a good job of late in games when Notre Dame needed a play, Ian Book made those plays.
Right.
Tonight was about the defense, not about
Agreed.
more than anything else. So I understand where you're coming from, and I in some ways I'm with you, Chief, but I don't want to start that kind of thing. I don't want to go there. Joseph Salvatore with another one. I know this game was thank you for the super chat, by the way, Chief Brody and Joseph Salvatore. I know this game was a struggle, but we won an instant classic. Fix the D. I'm just happy the Irish are on the winning side of one of these for once. I agree.
Very helpful that is the case.
Mark Mannion, listening to you guys from Australia, how refreshing to see so many deep shots taken by the offense. Cheers, Mark. And that's something we're going to definitely get into. I loved how aggressive they were. And look, they missed some shots early. Cohn underthrew a couple balls.
Mm-hmm.
The touchdown throw to Joe Wilkins wasn't the most gorgeous ball in the world. But you know what? What have we said? Give the receivers a chance to make plays. And you know what? More often than not, they're going to reward you by making plays. And we saw that. And then, of course, he made some adjustments, and his 2 deep balls coming out in the third quarter were gorgeous.
That ball he threw to Kevin Austin, I mean, he couldn't have handed it and put it in a better
for the
spot.
Touchdown or the first one?
The touchdown. Well, the first one was good too, but the touchdown, I mean, Kevin, it would literally right over his shoulder, right in the pocket. I mean, that was gorgeous.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yep. And Mark, obviously, huge super chat. So I appreciate that
awesome.
Very, very much. Absolutely. Tim McCarthy, why take our foot off the gas? Why not bury them when we had the chance? Happy for the win, but geez, let's get that killer mentality. We're going to, Tim, I want to point this out. We're going to talk about this when we get through these super chats. That's the first thing we're going to talk about that. So I wanted to thank you for the super chat and let you know what you talked about is one of the first things we're going to talk about when we get through the super chats. But we want to show love and appreciation of these super chats. Mark Sakalowski, I laughed when the stadium chanted, "You can't do that," when they thought it was a false start and ended up being offsides. Yeah.
That was actually pretty funny.
Some horrible officiating tonight, but that was one that actually got Notre Dame going. So Vince, let's dive into this.
Okay.
Let's get into this game. So first of all,
thanks for all the super chats, everybody.
And we're awesome. back over 400 people. So appreciate y'all being here. Let's get into some analysis because that's what I think you are here for. So Vince, you want to go ahead and kick off with just kind of your real quick big picture overview of the game before we dive into the just like I said, like the offense, defense, more specifics.
Sure. So what my takeaways from this game are pretty simple.
Sorry,
hello?
That's me. That's me.
Hello.
Just trying to do something different.
My takeaways are pretty simple. For me, it's number one, I thought Jack Cohn played a pretty darn good game overall. And anybody that says Jack Cohn didn't have a good game or that they were all mad at Jack Cohn or what, ridiculous. I thought he played. That's mean right there. What you just
Sorry,
did.
This is my coffee. I got to stay up. Some people are going to be mad at me because I'm drinking this.
But I thought he played well, especially his first time out with this team, and I feel like he's only going to get better, and his numbers were really good. That's number one. Number two, if there was anything he didn't do well, it was because he was running for his life.
And we'll get into some of that offensive stuff first. I just kind of, Vince, wanted to get your just overall take of the game, big picture.
Oh, big picture, but they got to win. That's the big picture, okay? Look, I lost money tonight, okay, because I had Notre Dame winning
I don't bet
by more.
This is why I don't gamble, by the way.
It wasn't a lot of money, but it was, I had Notre Dame winning by more than
kids, Vince. For you, losing anything is a lot of money.
Right. But I had Notre Dame winning by a lot, and I coached my friends. I'm like, hey, they're going to win by 2 touchdowns, But the bottom line, if you're a Notre Dame fan, the bottom line is they won the game, period. And they won the game with a kicker who, being nice, has had some issues at the end of last year. And he kicked the kick that he needed to kick. Okay. And so the fact that Jonathan Dorr went in there and put it right down the middle was fantastic. I think that was actually great. And so
I didn't like what led to them making that kick.
Agreed. But I'm just saying, I'm looking at the positives right now. I think Dorr getting a kick was fantastic. The first person, by the way, to run out on the field all enthusiastic was the sports psychologist. So I just want to throw that out there too.
Yeah, Dr. Selking.
Yeah, right. So I thought that was good. Big takeaway defensively. We'll get into that, but overall they got the win, and that's what I care about.
They got the win, and the other part of it too is tonight was about Notre Dame just has way better players than Florida State. I thought Florida State out fought Notre Dame. I thought they played with a little bit more fire than Notre Dame,
and they used their crowd, man.
Yeah, and they played like a team that was not afraid of Notre Dame. And at the end of the day, it was just Notre Dame had better players. And there were some good coaching things done, especially on offense. But Notre Dame they just said, hey, our dudes are better than your dudes. And
right. Well, and I will say, I thought that Florida State was going to lay down when they were down 18. And they didn't.
Yeah, they didn't.
And when one of the podcasts we did, we talked about, Mike Norvell isn't going to allow that because somebody asked if they were going to fold like a cheap tent or whatever.
Yeah.
They clearly didn't do that. The crowd.
And we said that they didn't do that last year either.
Right.
Yeah, Notre Dame did not play their game in a lot of ways, and there's a lot that's going to have to get cleaned up. But at the end of the day, Notre Dame has better players, and Notre Dame made plays when it mattered most.
Yeah, they did.
And that, to me, is the biggest play. Look, it's not always going to be pretty, right?
And
Notre Dame beating Pitt in 2012 wasn't pretty. And when Alabama won a title in 2009, they had to block 2 field goals and an extra point to beat Tennessee, right? Who wasn't that good that year. It was Lane Kiffin, Tennessee. Games like this are going to happen. Look, Clemson, the year they won a title, lost to Pitt in November, 43-42. That was a Pitt team that lost 5 games that year. Get the W. And now the next thing is, okay, you can't keep doing this stuff, right? You can't keep playing this way because you play like this against Purdue or you play like this against Wisconsin, Cincinnati, North Carolina, USC. There's teams that have enough firepower to maybe hurt you a little bit more than what we saw tonight. So a lot to clean up. But, again, you got the W.
Well, and another positive for me, Notre Dame scored 41 points.
Right.
I mean, look, I predicted
and missed
them to
a
score
ton
42.
of opportunities to score more. They should have scored in the 50s tonight.
Absolutely.
So Vince, let's do that. Let's dive right into the play of the offense. I want to begin. Okay. I want to begin talking about Tommy Rees.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go negative first, and then I'm gonna talk positives. The two negatives for me, and one of them I don't think was on him. Number one is that 3rd and 5 call where he called a quarterback counter. Now I get the call. It's 3rd and 5. You're in 2-down territory if you get positive yards. I understand the call, but 2 things. Number one, when your offensive line's getting blown up the way they were the whole first half, that's not the call you want to make. That counter's not the call you want to make.
And they brought 6 on that play.
Right.
And that's, I feel like,
you don't run it to Jack Cohn. You don't run it to Jack Cohn.
They had 6 guys on the line.
Right.
Like, you need to be able to check out of that or something.
Didn't like the call.
Yeah.
Other than that, I thought Tommy Rees called a good game. The other thing I didn't like is they went a little conservative late in the game. That, to me, is more of a Brian Kelly thing because that was Tommy Rees going away from what he'd done all game. And it was – and Brian Kelly talked about after the game as they were trying to control the clock and do all this other kind of stuff. And to me, that's exactly the problem with Brian Kelly in the second half. The best way to help your defense, go down and score again and make it 45-20 or 45-28, and then your defense can, start subbing. I thought that was a big coaching mistake. We're going to bring something up here that's going to change the subject for a second. I don't want to talk about it too much.
Okay.
I want to get back on track, but Jacob Dunn says, did no one else think Kelly's execution comment was hilarious?
You knew somebody was going to bring it up.
Vince told me in the car that somebody asked him about that, and apparently Twitter, which, as I've said before, I freaking hate Twitter. I love people on Twitter, but there's a ton of just people that drive me nuts on Twitter. Somebody, I guess, some people had a problem with it. First of all, it was freaking funny. Lighten the heck up. Okay. 2, it was a comment that John McKay made, I believe, when he was at Tampa Bay. I believe Tim O'Malley told me that.
Back in the 70s.
And look, he's trying to make a joke about how poor the team executed tonight, and it was funny. So just, I'm sorry if it offended you, but lighten up.
The original John McKay quote, somebody asked him about execution after a game, and he goes, yeah, I'm in favor of it. Okay. And Brian Kelly tried to spoof it, and he's like, we should execute the whole team, whatever.
And Brian Kelly's just not very funny.
Right.
Right.
He tries. He does so hard sometimes.
Yes, he tries to be funny. He's just not a very funny guy.
He's just not.
And he was trying to be funny. And if you have a problem with that, I'm sorry. You just need to lighten up.
I could not agree more.
Back to the offense thing, but I'll tell you a couple things that really stood out to me, Vince. The first one what I really like now, scheme wise, we'll get into some of that in tomorrow's show. I want to talk more big picture. What I liked about Tommy Rees, after Florida State scored to go up, that next series, now Notre Dame ended up stalling. That was the drive where he had the third 5 that I didn't like, right? But Notre Dame immediately went tempo, and I loved it. They immediately went tempo. And that tells me, like, hey, we're not just calling plays and stuff. We're thinking about momentum and getting we got to get going, because they had gone 3 of the first 4 drives. They got the first 4 drives of the game, I believe Notre Dame got into Florida State territory and came away with 1 touchdown, 1 score. So there were some issues there, and that was a problem. Just 2, and a lot of events was like dropping passes. Jack Cohn had a ball. There was an unblocked guy off the edge. Jack Cohn didn't quite snap the ball out to Cardin Williams, caused him to catch it short, and he stumbles short of the first down. Cohn's got to get that out there a little bit more.
Sure.
Because I don't think there was a free release. There was no one to account for that guy. That was actually not, in my opinion, and I'll have to go back and look at it, Vince, but I didn't think that was a missed assignment by anybody. That was just they brought more off the edge because Notre Dame was running a free release with their back. They didn't have the back to pick that guy up. And so there was another time later when Florida State scored again, and I think in the second half, Florida State scores like couple plays in, right, takes the lead right back from Notre Dame, 21-17, and like he goes right to deep balls. Reese goes right to deep balls to Kevin Austin. I loved it. I said that's a guy that just understands, like, hey, we've got to pick our defense up. Our defense is giving up plays. We got to pick them up. That's great team ball. I thought Tommy Reese was aggressive all night long. I mean, Jack Cohn threw so many balls down the field past 20 yards.
He did.
Again, missed some early, but then came out second half, was hitting them, was on fire in the second half. Completed 74% of his passes for 366 yards. I mean, that's really impressive, Vince.
Well, and I'm not overly surprised that he was short on a couple of those. I mean, look, he was short on one to Braden Lindsey. You're going to have to get used to how fast Braden Lindsey is. You're going to have to throw it earlier. And that's going to take some time.
What did he do the second half on those 2 throws to Kevin Austin?
Do him earlier.
He got to his drop and let him go.
He threw him earlier. He's
used to throwing the guys to run. I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but this is truth. He's used to throwing to 4-6 receivers. And what I mean, I'm talking about speed.
Right.
He's got to let those go. Now, again, here's the deal. When you at least throw it, you give Joe Wilkins a chance to do that. And that was an interesting play too, because he actually had 2 options on that. He could have Lawrence Keys came open over the middle on a deep end cut that would have converted that third down too, but he had the one-on-one, and they were giving Notre Dame one-on-ones the whole first 2 quarters. And then early in the third quarter, and more often than not, Cohn wasn't getting time to get the ball out. So another thing that Tommy Reese did is he actually did some plays in the second half where it was just, hey, we've got the one-on-one, just hit your drop and throw it to Kevin. That's clearly a halftime adjustment where he sat down with Kevin Austin, or he sat down with Jack Cohn and said, hey, you just catch it, get to your drop, and let it rip when we get that one-on-one. Because they can't cover Kevin. They can't cover Braden.
Right.
And early in the game, the shot to Braden, he kind of got there and he held it, and then he let it go, and that allowed the safety to kind of get over there, and it caused the underthrow.
Ton of air on it too. Like it gave the safety time to get over there, and it gave the corner a chance to catch up. Right. Because it had too much air underneath it.
There was another play early in the game because, again, Reese was aggressive all night. There was another play where Cohn, I think he scrambled, but he had Braden Lindsey running like a wide fade, Vince, where he attacked the guy and then went to work the wide fade. He hits him for a touchdown, but when Braden made his drop, that's when Cohn had to take off running because Zeke Corral got blown up. And that's the one I texted you during the game. I was like, he had Lindsey wide open on that sack.
Right.
And so it just, that was the same drive where they ended up settling for a field goal. So, and that was going to be a common theme all night. We'll get to the offensive line here in a second. But I thought Tommy's game plan was aggressive. We've heard all summer about how they're going to throw deep, and they were aggressive all game long. And again,
I like that, though.
I loved it.
I like that a lot.
Now they need to make sure that they give more time to get the ball out. Because, I've had people ask me, do you think they got the receivers involved enough? Yeah, they tried.
He just didn't have time to go through his reads. Right. And that's what we've been saying about Cohn all along, is that he's going to stand in there and he's going to go through his reads. The problem was he had crimson in his face all night long, and he couldn't go through his read. Somebody texted me and said, oh, he's going to his first read. But he didn't have a choice.
Well, first of all, his first read was also open a lot during this game, too.
True.
I mean, that's the other part of it. I mean, there were times where you didn't want to get to your first read. I
Sure.
mean, beyond your first read. I mean.
Yeah, right, because it was open and you take it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought he made great use of the backs. I mean, Vince, you and I keep talking about how they need to get the backs more involved, and Chris Tyree and Kyron Williams caught 10 balls, for 93 yards, and that third down screen to Kyron Williams was a phenomenal play call, by the way, because they were dropping dudes and like bringing field fires. That's a field off the blitz. And they ran a screen to the opposite side of that, and just well-timed, well-executed, well-designed. Great screen call. And there was plenty of RPOs tonight. Now, Jack Cohn didn't pull and throw many of them, if any, but they were running them, and that's something I'd like to see them do a better job of. And Ali Muhammad, I appreciate the super chat very much, Ali. Really, really do. And so
there's another one down there too. You got to grab.
What's that?
There's a $5 one.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
There. No, that's okay.
Josh Phillips. This will be a nice transition, Vince. So, Josh, I'm going to get to this super chat in a second. Let me just finish this one point because we're going to get to the run game. Michael Mayer showed he's a stud tonight in some ways, pass catching and things like that. He made 3 huge mistakes tonight, and I'm going to count 2 of them into one. Number 1, dropped 2 huge balls. One was a third down play that would have moved the chains. Yep. The last one, that's the kind of if you're a great player, that's the kind of play you got to make.
Right.
That gets them in field goal range.
Yep. And you got a chance to win it. You got a chance to win in regulation.
Exactly. Yeah. And he just dropped it. And then he didn't block very well tonight. The third one was you're 6'5", 250. When you get the ball in space, like he did on a third down play in the flats, stop trying to leap over everybody every time. Use your stiff arm, bury that safety's head into the ground, and move the chains, right? That's another thing. I thought he got a little too cute tonight in that regards. But big-time player when he was clean, he made some big-time plays. I loved how they used it. We'll get to the running backs in the pass game, but first let's talk run game, Vince.
Yeah.
I liked the fact that Tommy Rees did not abandon the run.
Agreed.
But it wasn't effective.
No, 65 yards is not effective.
And let's take sacks out. So let's take the team -5. Kyron Williams carried the ball 18 times for 42 yards. That's 2.3 yards per carry. Chris Tyree carried the ball 7 times for 31 yards. That's 4.4 yards per carry. That's 25 carries for 73 yards. And I'll be honest with you, about 45 of those yards off the top of my head were because the backs made great cuts.
Correct. Absolutely.
And there was nothing there all night long. The one draw that they ran where Tyree went for 12 was a great play call. That was the only time there was actually room to run all night long.
And I put that on the message board. That everybody better be thankful that Notre Dame has a great running back room because they made plays on their own all night long. Mm-hmm. All night long. I mean, and there were times where there was nothing and they were able to scratch out 4 or 5 yards.
Right.
I mean, it was yeoman's work by the 2 running backs. And on top of that, you had no Sebo Flemister. Mm-hmm. You had no Logan Diggs, obviously. So it was just those 2 guys, which is fine. I mean, you only need 2, but if they had that third, maybe that would have been nice.
Sure.
But you know what I mean? Like, it was just those 2 guys, and they did a really good job with the situation
they made the most out of it.
Yeah.
But here's let's the rest. Josh, by the way, thank you for the super chat. He says running game still needs improvement. Cone was outstanding. I get added this still. Cone was outstanding. Freeman got complacent in the fourth quarter. Still got the W though, and that is the big key. They got the W. Rob Didoff, I was not a fan of our defensive over celebrating on it a lot tonight. Kyle Hamilton taking his helmet off. Act like you've done it before. We're going to get to that too, Rob, but I appreciate the super chat very, very much. Some of these I'm going to – I thought I got that other one.
There was one that was no question. It was
82
just,
Slice, my man, 82
right
Slice.
there.
Appreciate you right there very, very much.
Thanks, man.
82 Slice means a lot. Rob, I'm not going to dismiss this. I just want to try to somewhat stay on track. Otherwise, this show is going to go on forever. And I do have to fly out tomorrow morning. So Vince, to the offense, the run game struggled, but this is why it's great to have backs like they do. And this is where I thought Tommy Rees did a great job.
Agreed.
And that is, yes, we can't get our backs involved in the run game, but you know what? The back still had a lot of production, because if you look at it and you say, boy, only 73 yards in the run game, but Kyron Williams had 6 catches for 83 yards. Chris Tyree had 4 catches for 10 yards. So the back still had 166 yards.
Right.
You know, and that's excellent. And Jack Cohn getting the ball up, but there were designed plays for them to get the ball. Screens, they were running smash. So the first touchdown, they ran a smash concept with from a free release in the backfield. What that means is basically you had a tight end to that side and only a running back. Michael Mayer ran a corner route, and he used Kyron as the flat route, right, Vince? And then they saw Kyron jumped him, and then there was a blown assignment on the top, and Jack hit him. They went to that several times. He hit a Mayer again later on that. He hit Kevin Austin on that route. And then a couple of those short throws to Kyron Williams, those actually weren't check downs. Those were part of that smash concept. It wasn't a pure smash, but like they'd have the corner, and then Kyron would just replace that guy. So if the backer ran with Mayer, Kyron literally was just sitting where that backer was going from. That's play calling. And then, of course, Cohn sees that guy, and he goes right to Kyron, gets him the ball in space. Kyron makes people miss. So great play calling in that regards. And so those are some of the things I'm excited about from tonight.
Sure.
We also got a super chat from Tim McCarthy. Maybe this is the best thing that could have happened to Marcus Freeman. We got the W, but hopefully he realizes that going conservative was a bad move. Always keep attacking. Let's learn from this. Part of it was conservative. Part of it was he got out coached in the second half, and we'll get to that a little bit. But Tim, thank you for the super chat. Brock's ND fan, can we raise money and put our boy in a better hotel? Great game, polished off a bottle of tequila. Hope he. This is a nice hotel. I got Tim O'Malley from Irish Illustrated staying right next door. Got Tim Priester here. It's a nice hotel. Just this light is a weird color. It's like a yellow lamp on a yellow light with a yellow wall. So a lot of yellow. So, and then the light over there doesn't work. But I'm all about but hey, it's not about looking at me. It's about hearing what I say. Right?
That's right.
And I view when it's darker and you can't see me as much, I think that's a positive for all of you. Appreciate that. And then we got another. So appreciate the super chat too, Bronx. Tristan Dumel, did any of the rookies play? Diggs, Fisher, Colley, Estime? I find your lack of faith in Freeman and Kelly disturbing. In his Darth Vader voice. Lack of faith in Freeman. I don't have a lack of faith in either one of those guys. Diggs did not. He was there, but he did not play, and that's COVID related. Fisher started, got hurt at halftime, or got hurt late in the second quarter and didn't come back. Kelly says a knee injury. I did not see Colley or Estime, but I also wasn't locking in on special teams to see if Colley was on there.
True,
I'll try to play it. Lorenzo Styles played a little bit.
I saw him out there. Yeah, I saw him out there.
And most of the other freshmen, I didn't see Gabriel Rubio in the game. Doesn't mean he didn't play. I didn't see him. Didn't see a lot of other freshmen in there, but I do appreciate the super chat, even though I'm a little confused on your lack of faith. Although, if you're just making a funny Darth Vader voice thing, then that's funny. But if you think I don't have faith in Freeman and Kelly, I would slightly disagree with that. But back to the offense, the big problem tonight from the offense, Vince, besides just not getting conservative late, and even look, it worked out for John Doerr, but the fact that you put that game on his shoulders and got conservative there, to me was a mistake.
I didn't like the conservative play calling there. I texted you right when Notre Dame got the ball in overtime, and I said they're going to just run it 3 times and they're going to set up for the field goal.
And that's what they did.
And I didn't like that.
Right.
And yes, they threw an out to Michael Mayer, in the flat. That they weren't trying to gain a bunch of yards with that particular play. Okay. They got conservative, and they knew that their kid could probably hit it. But I don't like putting the pressure on him in that kind of a circumstance. Go for the touchdown. Don't even put it on your kicker's shoulders, right? And let me be real clear on this. I am not part of the club of people that thinks that kickers aren't football players and they don't belong on the team and all this other nonsense I read on Twitter tonight from, Skip Bayless.
I have a buddy. I think I said this the other day. I have a buddy that's like that. Yeah.
It's just like, they're part of the team. It's all part of it, right? And they went, yes, it was a great game. It was decided by a kicker. Sometimes that happens, okay? And that's why you need a good one. Right. So I didn't like the fact that they just put it all on his shoulders. I would have much rather had them go try to score a touchdown, and if they had to kick it, then you kick it, right? But, they got the win.
Right. Yep, and they got it done. But so those were some of the things that I didn't like. Truman with a super sticker. Appreciate you, Truman. Maybe he feels bad that questioning my faith in Marcus Freeman. And then Sandy Grove says, I don't think people realize how powerful the transfer rule has become. It is really leveling the playing field, literally.
Well, there was a lot of transfers on Florida State, if that's what he's referencing.
Yes.
Everybody that made a play in that game outside of Travis, it felt like it was a transfer.
Yeah, because Jashawn Corbin didn't transfer this year. He transferred from Texas A&M last year, the year before. So, yeah, a lot of transfers for them, especially up front.
The kid that caught a touchdown was from Kansas. The kid that got all the sacks is from Georgia.
But a lot of that to me tonight was Notre Dame just not playing well.
Agreed.
But Sandy's right. I mean, the transfer portal is that. But, hey, let's be honest, too. Notre Dame's star on offense tonight was a transfer portal guy.
Yeah, no question.
Jack Cohn.
No question.
But look, Vince, offensively, the big issue, and we hinted a little bit about it before, but the offensive line just was bad.
They weren't good.
The left side of the line especially. Blake Fisher had some good moments and some not so good moments before he went out. Michael Carmody struggled majorly, in my opinion. I thought, at least from what I saw. Zeke Correll really he's regressed. Again, one game. We're just talking about tonight's game, right?
Yeah.
But he regressed from what we saw last year. He was getting knocked back. He wasn't moving his feet. The line as a whole was doing a lot of catching. Didn't see Kane Madden moving people. I thought Josh Lugg was the only guy that I really noticed is playing well. I thought their pass pro was surprisingly poor, in my opinion.
There were a couple of clean pockets, but not nearly enough.
No. And one time they did get a clean pocket. Cone did a really nice job of climbing the pocket and getting rid of the ball. Something we needed to see more of in the past that we saw tonight. But the offensive line is got to come a long way if this team is going to reach its potential. Again, game one, right? Game one,
but new group,
concern,
hostile, all that.
Yeah, the concern for me, Vince, and I want to hear your thoughts on this because you focused more on the line tonight than I did. That's why I want to.
It was difficult for me.
I want to say it, but I want to. The way we do it is, so I'm at the game. I'll watch more of the stuff you can't see on TV. And Vince will focus on the line, and we communicate between series. But the concern for me, we said before the game, I can live with the missed assignments. I can live with the fact they missed on some stunts. I can live with the fact that Michael Carmody's feet, didn't get out on an edge rush. He's never seen speed like that before. I get it. He was thrust into a tough spot. Some of that stuff I'm okay with. Muff snap, by Jarrett Patterson, a couple of those from him. Rusty, I get it. What I'm not okay with is the fact that they just did not come off the line hard. You said it to me. I want you to repeat the comment you said to me. They were catching a lot, which was problematic, but there was another thing that was even more problematic, Vince, and it was the comment you made to me on the phone as we were kind of prepping for the show about the Florida State D-line against the Notre Dame O-line.
It felt like the Florida State guys wanted it more. And it felt like, and the reason I say that is because the Florida State defensive line was just firing off the ball like they were being shot out of cannons, and Notre Dame was catching it. They're like, okay, guys, you need to take the fight to the defense, right? You need to take the fight to the defense. You know what the snap count is. You know when the ball is going to be snapped. There's no reason the defense should be getting a better jump on things than you are, and it felt like the majority of the night that was the case. Yeah. Again, one game. Let's see what they do when they're at home. Again, it's going to be Toledo, so I don't put a whole lot of stock in that either. But you can see if they adjust.
But this is why it's good to have that kind of game in a week.
Right. But it was very disappointing because Florida State clearly wanted it more than Notre Dame in the trenches tonight, going up against Notre Dame's offense.
Vince, I remember back in Truman. I meant the bandwagon Notre Dame fans, not Bryan and Vince. Appreciate you clearing that up. There's already people like ready to fire, comparing him to Van Gogh. Come on, give me a break.
Yeah, seriously.
But
there was another comment that we're going to get to. There was another super chat that we're going to get to when we start talking about the defense. Because I think it's a really good point, and I can't remember
this one for Bronx ND fan.
Yes.
Any chance BK told Freeman to go conservative? Was Freeman playing not to lose the game? We'll get into that because I think there's more to it than that. Yeah. Thank you again for Bronx for the super chat.
That's awesome. Thank you.
And look, super chats like this do help me make sure I have a little bit more money, maybe for a little nicer hotel next time. So yeah, there you go.
I mean, look, Brian and I are already planning our trip to Vegas next year.
Yeah, Vince texted me yesterday as soon as he saw that game BYU in Vegas. He's like, company road trip. So cool. Let's get it done. But the point I wanted to make, Vince, I remember the 2017 game against Bama with the O-line, and I remember the 2017 game against Miami. Both of those games, I thought the offensive line for Notre Dame got outplayed.
Yeah.
Right? But they didn't get outfought. They battled, right? They still, they just didn't play well. Tonight, I thought they got outfought up front, and that's a problem for me. It looked a lot more like 2019 than it did 2020.
Sure.
Again, game one. So this is just, I'm not making a sweeping conclusion of what it's going to look like the next 11 games.
Right.
I'm saying tonight, that happened.
I agree.
And that's a problem.
I agree. There's a lot for the offensive line to work on. And again, Notre Dame got the win. And I will also say this. Florida State clearly they built their defensive game plan around stopping the run.
Yes.
Okay. They clearly did that. So there was a lot of stuff coming at the offensive line. Okay. And I'm not making an excuse. Okay. What I am saying is Florida State looked at, how do you beat Notre Dame? It's stop the run. We had a guy in our chat say that, this is the way to beat Notre Dame is stop the run. Clearly, that's what Florida State thought as well.
They said, we're going to make Jack Cohn beat us.
And in the past, that may have worked.
And Jack Cohn said, okay, fine.
And that's exactly right. Jack Cohn, this isn't last year's Notre Dame team. This, and I'm not saying Ian Book. I'm just saying this isn't last year's team. You have to do more than stop the run to beat Notre Dame, and they proved that tonight with the way that they played in the pass game.
Right. Okay. I still have a problem though, Vince, averaging 2.92 yards and 73 rushing yards against a team that gave up 199 yards a game last year.
Oh, me absolutely.
And you went from last year, you rushed for two. What was it? Going to their rush defense. Notre Dame gained 353 yards last year.
Right.
Against this defense
on the ground.
Right. And this year they went for 65, almost 300 fewer yards.
It's a problem.
Okay. That's a big problem.
That's a problem.
That goes beyond just Florida, because Florida State stacked the box and tried to stop the run last year and they still couldn't stop it.
Right.
So there's a lot to work on there.
Yes, no question. I just wanted to say that their game plan was clearly to stop the run.
100%. The difference is that last year when teams were able to do that, like when Notre Dame didn't necessarily always have the weapons. I thought the receivers played well tonight when given the chance.
Right.
I thought that they got
took
open.
Advantage of one-on-ones.
Yeah, they got open.
Yeah.
Braden Lindsey needs to make a little better play on that ball, but it was underthrown enough where I understood it. Joe Wilkins Jr. made a great play on that touchdown ball. That's what give your guys a chance to go make plays. Kevin Austin made some great plays. They were getting open. Lawrence Keys was open several times. Braden got open. I'll tell you an example of Jack Cohn's savviness that I really appreciated. They ran a play. It was on one of their second half touchdown drives. He ran a bootleg, and technically Mayer, who was the number one read on a bootleg, Mayer did a slide, so it's just a quick outcut, and then Braden Lindsey was coming across on a drag from the backside. Technically, Mayer was open, and Jack Cohn could have thrown it to him, and I wouldn't have criticized him for it because technically his first read is open for all the people that say he didn't go to second read. But he saw in his peripheral that Braden Lindsey was streaking by and there was no defender. And so he goes off Mayer and quickly just snaps a ball off to Braden Lindsey coming on a drag for a big gain, right? Like that's the kind of stuff where like a less pass-savvy quarterback just takes that slide route. Right. And that's another example of something I really liked from Jack Cohn tonight. But overall, a lot to like about the offense. Skill. I mean, the play Kyron Williams made on his touchdown reception was tremendous. Kevin Austin had a big night, 4 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown. He had a really good night. Michael Mayer, when he wasn't making those silly mistakes that we've seen him do in the past, he's got to clean up. He was also had some big moments tonight.
He caught 9 balls.
Yeah.
He should have been 11.
Yeah.
He caught 9 balls and averaged almost 15 yards a catch.
Right. Absolutely. So, Joe Wilkins made a big play.
Yeah.
Like I said, Kevin Austin and Braden Lindsey combined for 6 catches for 130 yards. Love that. Right. And if the line go ahead, Vince.
I was going to say, before people get on us about our comments on Joe Wilkins and saying that he's not like a number 1 receiver, I just – because he made a great play in the end zone. But guess what? He was targeted one time and made a play.
He wasn't open a whole lot other times either, right?
But that's where Joe Wilkins can help you.
But what we say, he's a good complementary player.
Exactly. Right. And he did his job tonight.
Don't feel the need to have to respond to that, Vince. Don't let people like that look, stay on track. That's what Joe Wilkins can do, right?
Yes.
And you and I disagreed a little bit on that. I think Joe can be a little bit more than you think he can. But again, one catch doesn't mean one catch, one target.
Yeah.
Right? And he did a great job. And that's what you want to see from Joe.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
There was other times he struggled to get the separation you need. But again, so what? He's going to make that kind of play. It was similar to the play he made at the beginning of the Blue Gold game when he outplayed Cam Hart for the ball. Right. So no, you never said he sucked. It's just he's not a go-to guy.
Right. Exactly.
Vince, let's transition to the defense.
Okay.
This was the weirdest game I've ever seen because for parts of this game,
domination.
If you just stopped watching this game like in the middle of the second quarter, you're like, man, Notre Dame dominated Florida State.
Domination. They had negative yards for like 3 or 4 drives, you know, until they busted off that ridiculous run. Right. I mean, just domination. The front just dominated Florida State. Jordan Travis was running for his life.
Yeah.
There was nothing that Florida State could do. I was like, this game is over early. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was flustered. It was obvious when they tried to throw the ball. I was so impressed with. I mean, we talked about Isaiah Foskey, for example.
This is why you don't worry too much about practice players.
Exactly.
You just,
I texted you that. I go, apparently Foskey's a gamer. Right. He's a guy that's going to come out and he's going to produce in the game.
Jason Adamiola, for the most part, from what I saw, again, I didn't see him as much in the second half, but the first half, him and Foskey were just animals.
And Justin was in the backfield making plays.
Justin and Jason combined on a sack on a play,
which was really cool, by the way.
Yeah, we got a super chat here, Vince, from Cool Mike. Love the name, by the way. Once Florida State won their challenge on the incomplete pass, how does it not turn into grounding? I thought the same exact thing.
I texted that to Bryan. I said, well, okay, if it's an incomplete pass, then that should
why is it not grounding? There's some horrible calls. There was a bad holding on Nana on the 89-yard touchdown run that didn't get called. The roughing, the non-roughing the punter. Like if that's not like if I was doing teaching tape for officials on this is roughing and this is running into, that's the clip I'm using for the. I mean, he hit him square in the body and flipped, and it wasn't like a fake job where he's like Bryan. He spun him around. Well, kickers get spun around all the time because they act right.
This was not
Jay Bramlett flat got blasted, you know, and how that's not
just because the Florida State kid goes like this doesn't mean that he didn't hit him.
Horrible call.
Yeah,
horrible call,
and that almost turned the game completely around.
Absolutely, absolutely, because that would have been a first down for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Should have been a first down for Notre Dame. Yes. But again, this is why you don't leave games in the hands of officials.
Absolutely.
Because when you go to Florida State, as we learned in 2014, if they have a chance to impact the game in Florida State, and look, anyone that's watched college football the last 30 years, Vince, you and I, others, we know that's how it's going to be in Florida State. It's been like that for decades, right? So you know it's going to be that way. You can't allow them. You can't put yourself in a position where the officials can impact that play. We've got a super chat from Craig Sebring. Craig, thank you very.
There's
very
at least
much.
One above that, I think, from Tommy that we missed.
Let me go find it because if I don't get Tommy's, he's going to be mad. All right, Tommy Guns, I need you to hire me before that company trip. I keep telling you, man, you stop complaining about the ads and stuff. We may have to think about that. Tommy dropping like hint after hint. Thanks, all these super chats you leave, I'm going to hire you and paying you the money you gave me right back. So that's basically how it's going to be.
Thanks, Tommy.
But thanks for that, Tommy. I appreciate you very much. But yeah, Vince, this game was strange because there were times it was dominant.
Yeah,
there were parts of the team that played. There was times the linebackers looked great, times the linebackers looked bad.
Yeah,
I want to talk a couple big picture things. First of all, one mistake that I think the defense made in this game, coaching wise, there's a few. Early in the game, they were doing wholesale almost second-team substitutions. Like the play where they had the 89-yard touchdown, I think Kyle Hamilton was one of only maybe 2 starters in the game at that time. One thing I liked about how Clark Lee did substitutions and Mike Elko is they would kind of have sort of a half and half after the first couple series. The first 2 touchdown drives, you go back and watch the game, it was on the defense was almost entirely second-teamers. So second-teamers on the front, second-teamers a linebacker, and then even a second-teamer in the secondary. And that to me, you can't do that. You can't make that kind of wholesale second team substitution. I thought that was a mistake. I thought we saw early in the game, we saw a lot of versatility, a lot of diversity. The first series, they went 3-4 personnel. The second series, they went 4-3 personnel. Early on, Florida State had no answers for that.
Nope.
They found some answers in the second half. and Notre Dame never adjusted. And Notre Dame went away from the 4 down a lot in the second half.
Yes.
And I don't think people say why were they so conservative? They weren't conservative. It wasn't about that. They were still bringing pressures. The problem was Florida State started moving the line left and right.
Mm-hmm.
And what was happening was Notre Dame was doing a lot of stunts with their linebackers, and the linebackers were flowing. And basically what Florida State was doing by a lot of their left-right stuff, and they were doing those really long, like Wake Forest. Now they were doing that Wake Forest stuff where they like ride that inside way long. They were getting the Notre Dame linebackers to over-pursue, and because Notre Dame was in a 3-down front, and when they were going left-right, you can't bring as much vertical pressure. So it was actually Florida State coaching really well that did that, and Notre Dame had no answers. They didn't adjust to that at all. And it got them in trouble where then they started opening up run lanes, and it neutralized the defensive line because you took a defender out. So you did the first step towards neutralizing your defensive line. And then they started putting Foskey off the ball linebacker a lot more in the second half when they were going 4 down fronts. And then you negated his ability to impact the game the way it could. He didn't have any sacks in the second half because he wasn't put in a lot of pass opportunities. Yeah. Right. That was a mistake.
Right.
And again, they just didn't make enough adjustments. So Florida State figured it out, and Notre Dame didn't adjust. And there were times where like they had like Kaiser on one outside and J.D. Bertrand on the backside outside, almost like a 3-2 almost at times. They did a lot of 3-3 stack at times. And to me, when Florida State figured that out, Notre Dame didn't do anything to adjust and to balance it. Now, the other reason I think it looked like they weren't as attacking enough is because they were freaking dog tired in the second half. And this is why we said before the game, you can't let this be a game in the second half because that's when the humidity and the heat's going to get to you. And we saw that. And so I just felt like schematically they didn't get conservative. They just got out coached in the second half, and they didn't make adjustments. And that's a big concern for me. I love Marcus Freeman. I think he's got an incredibly bright future. But that's something where Clark Lee was really good at. It was almost like a reverse of what we've seen under Clark Lee. It's like under Clark Lee, like teams would move the ball early, then he'd make adjustments and shut you down. Tonight, Notre Dame dominated early.
Right.
Once they made adjustments, they weren't able to counter. Now they went to 4 down in the second in the overtime, I believe, and stopped them.
Well, and I want to make a comment about the being tired thing, because here's what happens when you're tired. Then you start to cheat. And when you cheat because you're tired, that's when they started losing contain on the outside, because they then your eyes are in the backfield, you're doing things, you get off schedule with what you should be doing, right? Does that make sense, Brian?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They were losing contain a lot. They were getting outside, and it was ugly. Frankly, it was ugly. But I agree with you that they were getting tired, and it was very obvious.
And just the inability to make adjustments and the decision to ride to 3-4 when your defensive line was dominating the way it was in the first half. I didn't understand that. I really didn't understand that. I'll be honest with you. And that's going to have to be something they're going to have to look back and say. We got a couple super chats real quick.
Yeah, do it.
Your boy Connor Patton said, did you know Mackenzie Milton was coming back from an injury?
That's sarcasm, because they were hammering it on the TV broadcast.
What, that he was coming back from an injury?
Yeah. I mean,
this is why I don't listen to the broadcast.
Hammering it. And somebody also made a comment about, do you think they hammered it too much or whatever? But like, his first pass that he completed, right? They're like, welcome back to college. I mean, they abused that particular story. It's great that the kid came back. Don't get me wrong, but they loved it.
And I'll tell you what, that was brilliant coaching by Florida State. They held on to him until the second half, and Notre Dame was having enough trouble with Jordan Travis, and they lost contain on him a lot this game, especially in the 3 downs. But then when they came back to him, and he's more of a passer, and he can kind of make those kind of, that little shovel that he did, which was really a great play.
That was a great play.
Some of it, at times, you kind of got to give credit to Florida State to say, hey, they just had some really well-designed, well-executed plays. But there's also a really poor tackling game. And that's something that we talked about Notre Dame struggled with last year. They were a poor tackling team last year. That reared its ugly head again.
It did.
And it wasn't just missing tackles in space. It was taking poor angles.
Yeah.
I mean, you got your All-American, and we'll get into him in a second, just whiffing on an 89-yard touchdown run. You can't have that.
Right.
You can't have that.
3 whiffs on that particular play.
Yeah,
but
you can't have that, and so that's something that's got to get cleaned up too.
And 2 were second teamers, and there's a reason that they're second teamers. I mean,
right. But I guess I'd push back on that a little bit. It's because Riley Mills I thought played a heck of a game.
Agreed.
I thought I thought Justin Admiola played a really good game.
Yeah.
Their second teamers, like a lot of those guys can play. It's just like, your boy Bo Bauer, you know what I mean? But you don't put them all in at once.
Well, and I guess
that's my issue.
I'm completely biased against the second teamer that I was referring to, which was Shane Simon. Yeah. He's had a bad game. I mean, every time he got
somewhat held, but he got held because he was not aggressive.
He allows himself to get held, Brian.
Exactly. No, I'm with you. I agree. Technically, penalty should have been called.
Sure.
But he should have never put them in position where they could have held him.
Right.
JD Bertrand didn't get held.
Right. Exactly.
By the way, JD Bertrand finished with 11 tackles.
He played,
which means Notre Dame starting will linebacker
here we go,
almost as many tackles in one game as the previous will linebacker had last year in 11. He had 14 tackles in 11 games. JD Bertrand had 11 tonight,
6 of which were solos.
Correct. He played a good game.
Yeah,
he played a good game. Drew White, I thought, played a really good game too.
I thought he did too.
Yeah. They neutralized him in the second half. That's one of the things they did. They did a great job because Drew was just flying downhill in the first. I mean, he was aggressive. And same with JD. That stuff, again, a lot of the left and right stuff, the really slow zone, the backs were like kind of waiting on a crease to come, and then bam. They were getting the linebackers having to go left, right, and Notre Dame didn't have an answer for it. And I still say the answer would have been to go more 4 down and attack.
Sure, yeah.
And then that forces them to spill and bounce, and then you can use your speed to your advantage. So I thought that was a coaching mistake, by the coaches. So, but I thought the second team linebackers weren't as effective. The second wave of linebackers wasn't as effective. But the D line, when they were like, they've got to mix in Howard Cross and Jacob Lacey with the guys on the first team. They can't have Nana in there with 3 other second teamers.
Right, exactly.
I thought he played hard, but he played like a guy who was getting his first real experience. But he played hard, I thought. Got held on one particular play that didn't get called. I think he also got held on that long touchdown run. But yeah, they're just going to have to clean they're going to have to rethink some of that stuff, Vince. Some of that.
I agree. Some of the substitution patterns and just kind of how they go about things. I have faith that they'll figure that out.
I agree.
But we'll see. We'll see.
I agree.
Let's talk about the secondary, Brian. I thought the corners in coverage appeared from my angle, right? I thought they played well.
I wrote in my post-game game observations, I thought they were sticky all night long. And even when they got tired, I thought they were sticky all night. I thought they played good football.
Yeah.
I really did. I thought that, Cam was good on vertical stuff. I thought that Clarence played solid football. They didn't test the corners a whole lot, partly for the same reason Notre Dame didn't throw a ton to their receivers, because they didn't have time.
Sure.
They hardly ever had time to just drop back and go to the corners. I thought the corners were good in the run game or the pass game. Run game early. Cam came up and blew up a screen early in the game, which was really good. B-Place with Super Chat. Hey, guys, worked tonight, but watched the game from my phone. Offense needs to be more physical. Yes, but it's the first game. Loved what I saw from Jack Cohn. Yes. Defense didn't look great against the run, but good pressure on the QB. Nailed it. B-Place nailed it. And again, I appreciate the
Thanks,
Super
guys.
Chat. Yeah, no doubt.
I think there's a couple other the $5 ones that we may have missed.
Okay, I thought I got them all, but you guys are just rolling them in too quickly.
Which is fantastic, by the way. All the support.
Oh, Connor, I was getting flashbacks to BVG defense, showed flashes, but allowed too many points. Kelly will have a talk with Freeman, though. Can we just stop with the BVG comparisons? Okay,
no comparison.
None.
There's none.
Florida State made some big plays. They had some first game mistakes. There was not an unsound defense. It wasn't always a well executed defense. They didn't make adjustments. It was nothing like a Brian Van Gorder defense. All right, so come on.
Yeah.
Let's no. Back on point, Vince. But I thought corner wise, I thought they played well in the pass game and run game early. The second half they were dragging.
Yeah,
and that hurt them in tackling. Look, when your legs are shot, that's going to kill you in the tackling.
No question. Because then you start diving at things, and you you lose when you're tired. You lose your fundamentals.
Right.
That's the easiest way for me to put it. You get sloppy with your fundamentals, and that leads to missed tackles.
Yep.
That's it, and it was clear that was the case.
Yep.
So let's talk safeties. Obviously, Kyle Hamilton ended up with 2 interceptions, which was good. Especially the second one. The ground that he covered on that second interception was
a
why he's an All-American.
Freaky play.
Just unbelievable. Unbelievable. But he needs to be better in his tackling.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think Vince. I think I would throw them both in the same. What you're going to say in the same thing.
Okay.
I thought at times the starting safeties were really good.
Yeah.
Especially Kyle, because he had those 2 picks.
Huge.
The second one. So did you notice that not only did he come off the hash, but did you notice they blew a coverage? So they had a guy covered, and then when the quarterback scrambled, the whoever that receiver was turned upfield, and there was a miscommunication. 2 guys thought the other guy was going to take him. They both stopped, and he took off running. It was a blown coverage. Kyle saw it, comes off the hash, as you did see that part, and picks it off. I mean, and then stays in bounds.
Yeah.
Then we saw our first NIL penalty. Okay, we saw our first name, image, likeness penalty. Because what does he want to do when he makes that play? He wants to show everyone his face.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Rip your helmet off, show everyone your face. Okay, your first NIL penalty. 15 yards, you get knocked back. You can't do that. You're an All-American. You can't do that. Very, very poor. Go back to your bench and rip your helmet off.
Right.
Don't rip your helmet off to the crowd, because, again, that's why I say it's an NIL penalty is what I call that.
And he was on Florida State sideline.
Exactly.
Like, oh, man.
That's also not smart,
Right.
But
good point.
But the plays he made were phenomenal. But then he has the whiff on the 89-yard touchdown, and then on Florida State's last scoring drive, he got smoked on a corner route to convert the. I mean, he gave up some plays too. But here's the thing I like about it: if you're going to do dumb plays and get beat, you better give me something that makes up for it. And he had 2 huge plays that made up.
Yeah,
for it.
He did.
He got a little peaky in the backfield. We didn't talk about Isaiah Pryor.
Oh yeah,
Isaiah Pryor when he was blitzing off the edge was really good.
That's his
Isaiah
wheelhouse.
Pryor when he was dropping in coverage was really bad.
Yeah.
They got lucky a couple times, one with Pryor, one with Hamilton. The one with Pryor is the guy actually ran out of bounds. He didn't know where he was on the field. He ran out of bounds. Jordan Travis threw the ball in bounds. It was early in the game, and the guy dove back, and the ball landed in front of him. That was not on Jordan Travis. The receiver literally ran out of bounds and tried to turn back and slipped out of bounds and tried to make the catch. That should have been a 10-yard gain. And then Hamilton got beat on a play early, too, that would have converted a first down, but they ended up calling it back because there was an eligible man downfield. Kyle was looking at Jordan Travis and just turned his guy completely loose. So there was a lot of that tonight from the defense, a lot of that. Not just from Kyle, but a lot. I mean, gap mistakes. And when you do more 3 down, there's more guys needing to fit into a gap from a second or third level. That's the other danger of that, right? And this is also why we said during the summer, this defense is going to give up more big plays. It just is. It's the nature of the defense. But it's also going to make a lot more plays. And that's what we weren't seeing enough of tonight, but we did see it. We saw the 2 interceptions, right? We saw the 3rd interception was off a tip ball to Clarence Lewis picked off, right? We saw a ton of disruptive plays in the backfield. So we still saw some of that, but it just some of the stuff needs to get cleaned up, and to me, Vince, that was the safety play was a perfect example. Houston's the same thing. Very productive in the run game.
Absolutely.
And on some perimeter screens. He was
rolling downhill
yes.
like he was on skates.
He was probably their best tackler. He ended up with 8 tackles. He was probably their best tackler tonight.
They had him come off the edge one time, and he was filling the alley. And there was one play where he was playing safety, okay? He was back at his safety position, and he came down and made a play like a linebacker when the play was like right up the middle. And if it's not for Houston Griffith, that guy's still running. And so, I mean, he made plays in the run game, no question about it.
But then you don't use good technique on the wide fade, and you get beat for a touchdown.
Right.
Like, that's the thing is you can't make those. You're a senior.
Right.
You can't make those kind of mistakes. Now, again, game 1. We're going to say the same thing about him we said about every other position. Game 1. If you clean that stuff up, he was really good. Like, if you could just take that one play out, he was really good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work like that because that one play was 7 points.
Exactly.
Well, actually, it was 6 points.
6 because they missed the extra point.
Right. So you gave up 6 points. You got to eliminate that stuff. But that's also why I'm saying, hey, look, this is why I'm not as discouraged as maybe some other people are.
Yeah.
Because we knew we'd see some mistakes. Now, there was way more mistakes than we anticipated. I'm not trying to pretend like I was like, they're going to give up 38 points. I knew it all. No, I'm not saying that. But, we knew there was going to be some sloppiness. We warned y'all there'd be some sloppiness. And then there was sloppiness times 2, right? And that's the issue that we had. But a lot of this stuff is correctable, Vince. Like 99% of the stuff on defense is correctable.
Right.
And you gain more experience. You're hopefully going to eliminate. If these coaches are as good as you and I both think that they are,
sure,
they're going to clean this stuff up. But it's got to get cleaned up because there's going to be offenses down the road. They're going to take more advantage of what we saw than what we saw tonight.
And I think philosophically they need to realize, and I guess I mean Brian Kelly, that you need to continue to score.
Yes,
don't
then your defense
your
can
hole.
pin its ears back and go attack.
Right, exactly. I think it's a different ball game. They were up 18. They put another touchdown on the board.
Yeah,
I think game over. And I honestly, I did think it was going to be game over. What was going on? It was the middle of the third quarter, right? Was it a turnover? Was it the interception? Maybe it was the interception. I can't even remember. But I remember I texted you. I was like, they scored a touchdown here. It's game over. They did. They went up 18. They needed to continue with their foot on the gas. And that's what I want to see. You're laughing because I'm guessing there's a super chat there's another one at least above this, but go ahead.
There's two.
Okay.
I'm caught. Oh yeah, here we go. Let's see here. Oh man, you get a ton of super chats tonight, folks. Love it.
Yeah.
Ian Moran, the super chat. Thank you very much. Lack of shots to wide receivers in the first half was frustrating. Jack Cohn was 10.5 per attempt. That's refreshing. I was bipolar with Ree's play calling tonight. I love this play calling. And the lack of shots to the receivers early, I'm telling you, I'm at the game. It was an O-line problem. Number one, they threw a flea flicker to a receiver early.
And it was just short.
Right. They threw a deep ball to Braden Lindsey early.
Short.
There were things there. It's just often he didn't have time to get there.
Right.
The throw that I brought up to Braden Lindsey would have been a first half shot, but he got rushed before he could get the ball off. So again, you've got to be able to understand, well, why wasn't he taking shots to receivers? Number one, I don't care who he takes deep shots to. I just want to take deep shots, okay? But there were plenty of deep shots.
Right.
It just – in the second half especially, I mean, you had 2 touchdowns on deep shots. You had another deep shot to Kevin Austin on a 3rd and 1, by the way, which I loved.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was also really aggressive in third and shorts, which I love that.
And look, guys – So the stat program that they use, right, keeps track of big plays, and they consider big plays gains of 15 or more. Notre Dame had 12 of those, okay, through the air, and that's what I'm talking about, passes.
And all but one of them went beyond 12 in the air.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
all but 2 of them. Excuse me.
And then they had 1 on the ground, where Chris Tyree gained 12 yards. Right?
I thought it was Kyron Williams.
It says
on the draw.
Chris Tyree, 12-yard gain.
No, Kyron Williams' long was 7. Chris Tyree's long was 12.
That's what I said, Chris Tyree, yeah.
You said Kyron Williams. It's all right. Sure? It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, it doesn't matter. It was a yes.
What I'm saying is they had 13 big plays in this game, okay, which is refreshing all by itself, and 12 of those were in the pass game. Right. So, there was a lot of good there is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Clem Butagod, super chat. Contain issues killed us, especially number 57 thoughts. Your 3 technique is not going to have contain. So, no, I don't think he was the issue with contain.
Now, there were some times where he was the outside guy in a 3 down.
Yes, but he's not the contain guy up the middle.
Right.
And he's not the contain guy outside either. Those are the overhang guys. His thing is to disrupt.
Right, and he did. He was disruptive.
I will go back and watch film and tell you if I have a different opinion when we watch the film. But I don't think 57 was the issue. No. I think the issue was more so on the second level, to be honest with you. I think that's where the front 4 had issues tonight was they gotta finish more on the quarterback. Now, less mobile quarterbacks are going to go down a lot more than Jordan Travis did.
Sure.
I mean, he give that kid credit too. That kid.
He made plays. Like there was a couple times where he should have been sacked, and he kind of spun out and then made a play, whether it was his legs or with his arm, where he should have been sacked.
Yes,
and you got to give him a little bit of credit for that.
Yes. But no, I do think contain issues were a big problem. To your point,
I just don't think it was 57. That's
right. Octavio Roca, Who do you want to see play more next week, and who do you think won't play as much besides the guys who are out today? Who do I want to see play more next week? I don't know if I really have an answer for that. I think they played so many guys. I mean, besides the guys who are out, they played a ton of guys. Maybe like see Xavier Watts more, and I'd like to see Deion Colsey and Braden Lindsey and Lorenzo Styles play more, and Lawrence Keys play more. They seem to do a lot of the first team, play a lot of the reps. But I'd have to go back and look. It's kind of maybe nitpicking a little bit right now. Who do I think needs to play not as much? I'll tell you that the number 2 Will linebacker is going to have to figure something out if he wants to keep playing. And they've got to find somebody because JD can't play the whole game.
Absolutely.
But he's going to have to figure something out.
I'm still on the bandwagon.
And DJ Brown has to figure something out too. Like they got to find ways to avoid him in space. And I'll tell you what, if Isaiah Pryor keeps turning dudes loose like that in coverage, and I think part of it is I think he played a little bit more tonight too because Paul Moala got hurt again.
Right.
But Isaiah Pryor can't just be a one-trick pony. He's going to have to figure some things out in coverage because that wasn't getting it done tonight.
Because every time he's in the game, they're going to be like, yeah, let's throw the ball.
Let's throw it that guy.
That's what's going to happen.
Exactly.
I'm still in favor of moving Bauer out to Will and at least letting him cross-train.
No, I definitely don't move Bauer out to Will. He can't cover me. His coverage tonight was so bad. I mean, he got.
I'm not saying. I'm not even saying.
Will has to cover.
I'm saying, okay, well,
he also needs to tackle. Move Drew White out to Will. Right.
He also needs to tackle.
Okay, but if you're missing tackles in the run game, but you can't cover in the pass game, he's just going to throw at you, right? I mean, they're going to go at you one way or the other. If you want to put Bo Bauer in the game, put him in Mike and move Drew White out to Will.
Okay.
Again, I still don't love that because those are not 2 great cover guys, and you have to you don't like fix one bullet hole by shooting yourself somewhere else, right? Like you fix the one bullet hole, right? And that, to me, is what they need to do. Now, I don't mind seeing Bo play more. What I was thinking in my head is maybe there's snaps where, like you said, you can maybe put Drew White there. Maybe occasionally you could put Jack Kaiser there against a team like Florida State.
Sure.
That's fast, And then maybe a team like Wisconsin, you put Drew and Bo in the game together. But they're going to have to figure something out, Vince, because Shane's just got to play better. Simple as that. I mean,
I agree.
And Isaiah Pryor too. Those 2 guys on the field, they're liabilities in completely different ways, right? Sure. Like that's a perfect example too. Is Isaiah as a run defender is really good.
Yeah,
but then he gets exposed in the pass game. Shane gets exposed in the run game. They're gonna have to figure out some answers there because tonight wasn't good enough. This is the thing I was laughing at, Vince.
Oh.
Logan Hale says, worried about the O-line, but don't think we should be executing anyone just yet. Thank you for the super chat and for the humor.
No, we are not in favor of any beheadings or, lethal injections. None of that.
Yep.
We're good. We're good.
Another super chat from him. Thoughts on DN contain issues, especially Jason Adamiola caused about 3 huge plays, spinning, crashing inside, Freeman not coaching basic QB contain. Again, that's not his job on those particular plays. I do not believe. I didn't see them using that particular big end to do that all night. His job was to disrupt, get the quarterback, either to get to the quarterback or disrupt the quarterback, and then it's up to pursuers to get to him. So I'll go back and watch the film. I could be wrong on that. Again, that's why we got to go back and watch the film, but I did not see that. So I didn't see it. So Jack Maluli with the super chat. Appreciate that, Jack.
Thanks, man.
And then, so I think that is it for the super chats now, Vince. So we can kind of finish up on the safety play. So yeah, it was a lot of good, a lot of bad, and the bad was really bad and the good was really good.
Right.
I got to clean up the really bad. Houston's got to use better technique. Because it was a situation where it was good game planning by Florida State. They went empty. I believe it was an empty play. And so that forced Houston to come down and man. That's not where Houston's at his best. Mm-hmm. It was a good play call. They got a fast guy matched up against your safety, your strong safety, basically.
Yeah.
That's the matchup you want, and they went to it. Houston has to recognize that, and I'd rather you give up a 6-yard outcut for completion than to just flat foot and then be late on your transition.
That was the problem. The problem. It was a flat foot situation. And he was 5 yards off the line of scrimmage, which is where he's supposed to be. I mean, he was lined up correctly, but the path that he took to cover the receiver was just not – he was beat instantly. Right. I mean, absolutely instantly. And look, it's a great throw by the QB. I mean, he put it right in the kitchen of the right. It was a great
and the receiver just flat out ran him.
Yeah.
Houston's got to widen with that guy too. He didn't widen at all. He's got to widen that guy out towards the sideline. He's got to get hands on as he transitions. He just didn't get hands on, didn't transition well, just like let him run by him. And again, that kind of play is going to have people thinking you played poorly. And that's just how people are when you're watching a game, right? You're going to look at that one play. Oh, he stunk. He got beat. No, but that's the thing is that one play gives you 6 points.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to negate some of the good you did, and he's got to eliminate that stuff. He had the same play last year against Florida State. Remember when he got beat by Lawrence Tuafili on the deep ball? He just flat-footed and then kind of reached and grabbed. He's got to clean that up. He's a senior now.
Right.
He can't. So
we got another super chat, Brian, if you want to grab that.
Yep, I see that. Fat Fish had to show up for the after game show. Got 1,000 views on my new single in 2 days. I'll chop it up to the Irish Breakdown. Shout out.
No problem, man. Anything we can do to help you.
Yes.
And we appreciate the super chat as well, man. Thank
you. Absolutely. All right. So Vince, defensively, again, a lot to clean up. And they're going to have to clean up quickly because this is a short week. And Toledo has a very good running back and a mobile quarterback. So that's a bit concerning, to say the least.
Absolutely.
But there's also a lot to like too. Again,
yeah. Did we cover the super chat from before about whether BK told him to be conservative or not?
Yeah, we did. I didn't specifically reference the super chat, but the thing what I says, I don't think he was being conservative.
Yeah,
I think Florida State made some adjustments at halftime to do. Florida State was kind of running like they were throwing a lot early. They weren't, and then Notre Dame was when, especially when their 4-mans were really aggressive and shooting gaps, and they were running like double. They did like at one point in time in the second series, they did a double inside backer strong stunt, and like Florida State just had no answers. Well, Florida State did what good coaching staffs do, and we've been praising Mike Norvell for the last 2 weeks about how he's a good football coach. So Florida State is ascending. But Mike Norvell made adjustments at halftime to slow the run game down, especially against the 3-man front, and give your patient backs time to find those holes. And then Notre Dame's defensive ends at times did a poor job setting the edge, which allowed some bounces outside, right? And I'm going to go back. I didn't talk a lot about that because I need to go back and watch the film and see exactly what happened. And then your linebackers kind of got caught like, okay, we can't come downhill as much because they're running a lot of outside zone and a lot of mid zone, which is causing more of a lateral movement, which instead of that really hard down, because they were trying some inside zone stuff and they were running right into the teeth of the Notre Dame linebackers.
Right.
Well, they went more of the wide zone stuff in the second half, Vince, and Notre Dame didn't adjust.
Right.
So I don't think it was Brian Kelly telling Marcus Freeman to be conservative. I think it was the Notre Dame defensive coaches not making adjustments to Florida State's adjustments. Now if you disagree, Vince, let me know. But that's what I didn't see I didn't see him getting less aggressive. I think there was some less aggressiveness in the second half, but to a degree, you need that because the one thing Florida State did was, and as early as they ripped off big plays. You can't let them, when you're up 18 points, you can't let them score in 2 plays.
Right. You got to make them earn it.
You have to make them earn it, and they did. Now, there were still some mistakes, obviously, and you need to make some stops. So, to a degree, I understand not blitzing a bunch of dudes because you had just gotten ripped up on some of those things earlier in the game. I just didn't think the adjustments were good. The adjustments that they did make, because Notre Dame made adjustments. They went to more 3-man. I just didn't think it was a good adjustment. It didn't work out.
Yeah. And
they just didn't really have any answers for Florida State until you got to overtime. And,
Yeah. No, look, there's things that Notre Dame needs to clean up on both sides of the ball. I mean, bottom line, they didn't play their best ball, and frankly, I don't want them to play their best ball in week 1. I mean, I want to see improvement, and there's plenty to work on. But again, you're attacking this improvement from a standpoint of a win, okay? Which, and you and I have talked about this ad nauseum in other podcasts. It's so much easier as a coach to correct and do things when you're coming off of a win than it is when you're coming off of a loss. And with the way college football is right now, you don't want to lose. I mean, you can't lose this game. Florida State's an unranked team. You can't lose this game.
Right.
You can make all the excuses that you want. It was a tough environment. It was week 1, blah, 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 blah.
Can't lose that game.
But you can't lose that game.
And they didn't.
And they didn't. They won that game. And
right.
if and I'm not saying Notre Dame's going to run the table, but if they do, it doesn't matter that they won in overtime by 3. Right. It's a W. It's a win. And that's the most important thing. Yes, there's tons to clean up. Absolutely. All right. But they've got Toledo next.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a great opportunity to clean some stuff up.
Right.
They got Purdue, a great opportunity to clean some stuff up. And then, it's
then
go
it gets
time.
real.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
That high octane Wisconsin. Here's the thing, like a team like Wisconsin going to be able to do to Notre Dame what Florida State did. Florida State's got some speed. Now, again, not like the speed they used to have, but they got some speed. Wisconsin doesn't.
No, they don't. And again, even after today, still not worried about the Wisconsin game.
No.
I'm sorry. I'm not.
And apparently, Vince, we're going to get into some comments and questions. Now, do you have any other comments you want to make? I mean, you kind of wrapped it up pretty well right there. Yeah. I want to get into some comments and questions down here before we wrap up. Apparently, Vince, I'm not a realistic Notre Dame fan. Most realistic Notre Dame fans weren't expecting a college football playoff in 2021. We lost a lot last year. Nonsense. No, realistic Notre Dame fans should expect Notre Dame to compete for a playoff team this year. I'm sorry. I just completely disagree with that because Notre Dame's not the only team that freaking lost people this year. Okay. Right, Alabama lost 6 first-round draft picks. Okay. Ohio State lost a lot. Clemson lost a lot. Clemson scored 3 freaking points on Saturday. Right? I mean, come on. So yes,
and they've got their issues too because they were calling an offense for a quarterback that they don't have
on the roster.
Right, correct. Exactly.
So please don't give me the whole realistic Notre Dame fans. Don't give me that. No, I'm sorry, Vince. Where are you at on the? I'm
questions? At the very top.
I mean, what time?
I'm not sure how long I'll be there. 12:31.
Okay, let's just get to as many. Just pull up as many questions and comments as possible, and we'll just because we want to let y'all. And we appreciate the super chats, but we want to make sure we try to get
the super chats were awesome, guys. You guys were killing it today. Here, I'll throw this one out there. Matt Sokolowski says dropped catches paired with missed tackles for loss made the game closer.
Yeah, and those are self-inflicted wounds we talked about, Matt. Absolutely. And those are things that can get cleaned up or should get cleaned up. And you got to think that Michael Mayer is going to come through a little better than that because that was yeah.
I'll pull some up. You read them and go. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me. What happened to Blake Fisher? Brian Kelly talked about that after the game. He said it looks like a knee strain is what Kelly said after the game. He said there wasn't any ligament involvement there, which is obviously a positive. But again, with a lot of those, you won't know till you get back and the swelling goes down and you get them under the the MRI or whatever if he's going to need one. Cesar, let me see it. Cesar with super chat. Great way to understand the way the game was played as I did not have the chance or time to watch the game. Great live analysis. You're going to want to watch it though. There's a lot to see.
Yeah, there was a lot of good stuff to see too, by the way. They did put 41 on the board and left points out there. So that's a good thing, people. Right. It's a good thing.
Yeah, let's not. And somebody said, the Mountain Man said this, and Iowa State Notre Dame championship game, big game, Ames this Saturday. He's kind of joking a little bit, but that's another top 10 team that beat Northern Iowa by 6, right?
Exactly.
So
yep.
Okay, back to the top bits.
Here we go. Tommy says, Brian, does Elston not teach a pass rush to go for the quarterback's back shoulder? I know he's a good athlete, just seemed to be able to backstep out, spin out too many times.
Yeah, well, see, you can't do that against Jordan Travis because if you go too wide on Jordan Travis, he's going to step into the pocket. And you want to get a guy like that going outside because if there's a lot of his scrambles where he ended up scrambling outside and he ended up only getting like 1 or 2 yards. He ran forever and only got 1 or 2 yards. You got to kind of pick your poison. And the last thing I want to do is let a quarterback go right up the middle. And if you're too wide with your pass rushes, you're going to let him step into those pockets. But, yes, he does teach that because we've seen it. We saw him do that to Bryce Perkins a couple years ago. Jonathan Hellchemis, is our offensive line really terrible, or was FSU's D-line actually legit? Well, we said it was going to be better, but they made it look better than it was. I mean, they got a transfer from South Carolina. They got a transfer from Georgia. They got a kid that sat out a half of last year, was part of that deal too. They have a better talent. They have a better defensive line, but Notre Dame made them look better with what Vince said earlier, right? Vince, about that they out hustled Notre Dame. They out hit Notre Dame, and that's unacceptable. Yep. When you're O-line, that's never clean. Technique mistakes, assignment. I get all that, but to sit there and say you got out hustled and out hit, come on, man.
Yeah,
come on.
Go to grab that super chat. There you go.
Let's get Brian to a full service Marriott or Hilton. How about we worry about what I'm saying, not what's behind me, okay? And Trevor Owen is now getting booted. So you're going to come here with that bull, Pucky. You're gone.
Okay.
So
I love
Florida State fan out of here. Sid Irish, Keys doesn't do much for me. When he gets a chance, he does nothing. Again, horse Pucky. Lawrence Keys was open several times tonight, but the ball went somewhere else. That happens. Okay, so whatever. Some odd takes tonight. Hard for me to get excited about this game from Michael Eakin. Both lines not very good. I'm sorry, the defensive line is very good.
Didn't watch first half of this game.
Yeah.
If you
offensive line, Michael, that's a legitimate concern. It was a legitimate concern coming into the season, and it's just as much of a concern now as it was then. So but again, hard for me to be excited. You went on the road to Florida State and won a game. Is there a lot to clean up? Are there things I'm frustrated by? Absolutely. But you went on the road and beat Florida State on the road, right? That's a good win. That's something to be excited about. Notre Dame can, not that long ago, if Notre Dame would have made as many mistakes in a game that they made tonight, they'd have lost this game, right? This is a program that lost to Tulsa once, lost to Navy a couple times early in Kelly's tenure. You know what I mean? Lost to Pitt when they stunk. They got the win, guys, Coach D, thoughts on the guards? I'm afraid they are too small to get much of a push. I don't think it's about size. I mean, Zach Martin's one of the best run-blocking offensive linemen in the NFL, and he weighs 5 pounds more than Zeke Correll, right? It's about leverage and striking, right? Leverage and strike. And you can be 295 and leverage and strike. Zeke Correll ain't that much, is about the same weight as Robert Hainsey was, and Robert Hainsey was a pretty darn good run blocker last year. 3rd-round NFL draft pick. He's going to be playing center in the National Football League. So it's about technique. It's not about size. Florida State's guys weren't that much bigger than Notre Dame's O-line. Caden Madden's like 310 pounds, right? I mean, he was brought here to be a mauler. Right, I'm concerned about the guards based on how they played tonight, but it's not a size problem. It's a technique problem. When you're 295 and you catch, you're going to get your butt kicked. Simple as that. I mean, you're just going to get your butt kicked. Brian, I want you to know how upset I am with you for making me feel optimistic about the season.
It's one game, everybody. It's one game.
I mean,
it's one game.
Some of these takes are just like
relax.
Quarterback is a B-. What the heck would he have had to do to not be come on, man.
That's terrible.
Come on now.
We're not watching.
He completed 74% of his passes for 366 yards and 4 touchdowns on the road, had 2 drops that would have put him over 400 yards, and he's a B-. Come on. Come on. Bronx End defense says, sorry, my support for IB Nation was taken as just being a smartass. I'm good with you, man. It's all good. It's just the first couple times I thought it was funny. The third time I was like, okay, let's stay on point. I'm sorry. It's also 2:20 in the morning, and
we're getting there. We're getting there.
So some of this stuff is like this. What?
That's not even close to true.
What?
Again, you guys aren't watching the same game. I would challenge you to go back, Lotus, and watch the game and write down each play.
Yeah.
And see how many plays that they ran.
Same guy that gave Jack Cohn a B-.
See, the offensive line was about a D-.
What?
And
what?
It's grading on a curve, the wrong curve.
Oh my goodness gracious!
I don't even know what to say.
You get some more questions, Vince.
It's lots of comments. A lot of people don't like the 3-down look because they were getting run on. I
don't mind the 3-down look. It just you can't go to it fully with the personnel you have.
Right.
You just don't. In a couple of years, when you've got Jalen Sneed and Josh Burnham and that crew, Nolan Ziegler is your linebacking core, and you got long, rangy, athletic dudes. Cool, do it. But this group, your best position on defense is by far your defensive line.
Yeah.
And you started using your big time, Foskey they couldn't block him on the edge. And then you started putting him on the second level and dropping him. That to me was it's one thing to do it as a change-up, Vince. It's nothing to do it as your primary way of attacking them.
Right. Absolutely agree with that. And Sid Irish does as well. Rush Foskey, why drop him in coverage? And I got dropped to 204, by the way.
Okay.
I could only go so far.
We lost a ton. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. But I mean, it was a lot of comments, which I totally get. Jack, here we go. There's one for you.
I have ways of getting it. It's not about a subscription. There's no subscription that I'm aware of.
Craig says Prince Collie at will.
I'd give him a shot.
Yeah,
I mean the way that Shane played today, I'd give him a shot and coach him up. You know, you got to figure something out. I got one, Vince, while you're looking. Cool. Craig Sebring, great observation. Do you think the Heat played a big role in the fourth quarter? Our D looked gas. Yeah. But also part of that, too, is you've got to make more stops early in the game to not get to that point, right? I mean, if you don't give up a couple of those big plays, then you're up by 3-4 touchdowns, and, you know, you can maybe do a little bit more wholesale rotations. But, yeah, it definitely was hot there for sure, and they were worn down. We talked about that before the game, but they were making a lot of those mistakes before they got worn down. Michael Kraus, will Joe Alt stay at left tackle? With Fisher out, or should Notre Dame move? Or should the Notre Dame center Jarrett Patterson move to left tackle? It's a good question. I would say I want to see how long Blake Fisher is out first before I comment on that. But I mean, Michael Carmey's got to play better. But this is Michael Carmey's first real game action, right?
True.
But yeah, you get Tosh Baker and Joe Alt ready to play. I mean, you got to have some options there, because if Blake can't go, then obviously those guys are going to need to be the next man in as far as being part of the 2 deep. No question. Joseph Salvatore, Jordan Travis escaped being sacked deep in the backfield at least 5 times. It was so frustrating. Yeah, it was. You got to close out. But, you know, again, part of that is Jordan Travis is a really athletic player. But yeah, you got to close some of those out.
Apparently my facial expressions are saying it all right now. Vince is about to fall asleep, 2 a.m. You're all out here still grinding. Appreciate it. Doing the best I can, man.
Boogie Halls. I'm all positive. 12-0 is a given. Tell me the main reason my prediction won't come true, and rank Doak's atmosphere versus other games you've been to.
I like that last part.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, the 2 games I've been to at Doak were great games. I mean, okay, forget the whole should Notre Dame. I'm just saying, just as a college football, they were great games. I mean, the first game went down to the wire. This game went down to the wire. The thing I like about Florida State fans is, from my experience, and other people may have different ones, but they seem pretty fun. You know, doesn't see a lot of fights and, you know, screaming at each other. It seemed pretty fun, but they're loud. They get into it. When the other team is kind of getting momentum, they know it's time to get loud. It was a pretty cool environment. Was it as loud as Clemson's or as crazy as Clemson's? No. I've been to better places, but it's a lot of history. They did some really cool stuff with Bobby Bowden tonight. The band played Amazing Grace at halftime when they had his name spelled out on the field, which was really cool. Yeah. And obviously the legendary coach passed away, so that was really cool. But it was a fun atmosphere. We had two cool really flyovers during the pregame, which was really cool as well. So, yeah.
I want to address something that was in here. Mountain Man says Coach Kelly got upset with the lady at the presser when she asked him about it, asking about the execution thing. And then Sid Irish said BK and female reporter is not a good combo.
Come on, man.
He's a jerk to everybody. Like, believe me, it has nothing to do with
no one's been ripped harder in a post-game press conference than I got after Wake Forest in 2011. Okay,
right.
Come on.
I just want to throw that out there in defense of BK. He's not some sort of a sexist guy.
He knows Allison as well as anyone on the beat because he does the pregame show with her. It was.
He's equally jerky to everybody. That's all. Yes. That's all I'll say.
I don't know what he said to Allison about. I know she asked the question. I don't know how he responded, but
it was just he was more befuddled with the response from Twitter than her.
And the lady that he ripped a couple years ago, she deserved to get ripped for that. It was a bad question, just like he'll rip me if I ask a question he doesn't like, or other people. BK's gone off on plenty of people, so come
on. Tony's pretty negative today, but I'm going to throw it up here anyway. He says, right now, there's no way we can beat anyone in the top 10, not with 5 to 10 yards passing and a defense that gives up that many points.
I think he actually watched the Clemson-Georgia game tonight and thought it was the Notre Dame-Florida State game.
12 big plays in the passing game.
What did he say? What was it? 5 to 10, not with 5 to 10 yards passing? Yeah. I mean, Notre Dame averaged 10.5 yards per attempt.
Not reception.
Per attempt.
There you go.
Okay. They averaged 14.6 yards per completion. And did you notice when Iowa State beat Northern freaking Iowa by 6? Come on, people. Hey, look, there's some people bringing up some legitimate criticisms tonight. All for it.
Absolutely.
Great questions, great observations, but some of this from Tony, and I'm not trying to – I am coming down on you, and I don't mean any disrespect, but some of this stuff is just, come on, man. Let's get to some, Vince. Let's get to some more. This
is a legit question because I was getting frustrated with this.
This is the one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was getting frustrated with this.
You got a 4-3 guy returning kicks, okay? There's 40 freaking seconds left in the game. You got a better chance of having Chris Tyree break 95 yards for a touchdown than you do of going 75 yards in 50 seconds with one timeout because you had to use a timeout on the first play of the second half because you didn't get the calls in right and all that other kind of stuff, okay?
Right.
Why the heck are you – why have Chris Tyree back there if you're going to fair catch? Like, you had back-to-back kicks that you fielded in territory, not in the end zone, and you had him fair catch it?
And when he caught it, there's
nobody freaking near him
in the
now.
stream.
Listen, I know at times you may get pinned at the 15, but another time you may break it for 90.
Right.
I couldn't believe. And one time he fair caught it in the middle of the field. That is the one place you never kick the ball. It's the middle of the field, and they fair caught it.
Yeah.
That was embarrassing.
Yeah, clear marching orders to fair catch it no matter where it is.
And why are you going? I was so mad. I mean. And you knew it was going to happen. It was so bad. I'm sorry. Brian Polian is just not getting it done very mediocre special teams. He's got to do better. And maybe that's Brian Kelly's call, but whoever's calling that's horse crap. You got one of the most explosive players in college football who gets a running start, and you're going to fair catch back-to-back play. You know, it's like that is your chance to all the momentum they just got on the score is your chance to blow it up. But it's like you're afraid that, they may actually, maybe pin us at the 15. Well, the way your offense is going tonight, so what?
All right. I agree with that too. Yeah. Give him a shot, man. Give him a shot. Here we go. Michelangelo says Carmody played solid, except one play being burned bad. His run blocking had much more effort than Blake. Can't wait to hear your thoughts.
He had I don't think he played. I think he played solid, but I think it was more than just the one play where he got burned on the outside. He had several mistakes, but he did play hard. He was physical.
It was.
And what was it? Was the one touchdown
run?
He blew some. He blew.
It was Johnson.
He blew Jermaine Johnson up.
It was Jermaine Johnson, the kid who was on fire.
Yeah.
Just put him on his back, and it was beautiful.
Yep.
Okay. Sydney Moore has an interesting take. First true non-COVID road test since the Michigan debacle, unless you want to count Duke and Stanford, could have potentially played a small role in the performance.
Yeah,
first game with a crowd in a year and a half.
Yeah.
I get that. I do. There is something to be said for that. No matter how many times you play the chop on the loudspeaker in the practice facility.
Right.
It's the first time with all the fans and the pageantry and, flaming arrows and all that stuff. So
I don't think Notre Dame was bothered by the crowd as much, Vince. I think they handled you're right about the environment. I'm just saying I don't think the crowd bothered them too much. I don't think Michael Mayer dropped that pass because of the crowd.
Agreed.
I don't think that Kyle Hamilton whiffed on that play because of the crowd. They executed poorly. Simple as that. And they got to clean that stuff up. A lot of teams execute. Tulane had the ball at the end of in the fourth quarter. Chip Long, and Chris Watt had the ball down 5 with 2 minutes left in the game with a chance to beat Oklahoma. It's the first week. Iowa State beat flipping Northern Iowa by 6. Clemson scored 3 points against Georgia. 3 points.
Right.
Come on.
Everybody's got stuff to clean up.
No, this isn't in response to Sydney's question. This is kind of some others. I thought Sydney's question was very good.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. And here we go.
Oh, there we go.
A win is a win. Now, look, you do this in 4 weeks, then I'm going to have a problem. Or in 2 weeks next week against Toledo or next week against Purdue. I get it. And look, you got a lot of stuff to clean up. We're not sitting there saying, it's perfect, it's great. There's a lot of stuff to clean up.
Not what we're saying at all.
A lot of stuff to clean up. But we got to, I should be more prepared for this, Vince. I should be more prepared because we even said there's going to be week 1 overreactions. I get it. And I love y'all very much. But some of y'all just got to take a deep breath, right? They got the W. They got a chance to clean this stuff. It's a whole lot better to clean this stuff up when you get the W.
Yeah.
But it's, so anyway, go ahead, Vince.
Here you go. I'll let you answer this one while I keep looking.
Tommy Guns, Brian, how did you get your post-game articles out so quickly? Well, I kind of work on them as I go. So, like, I write them kind of, I take notes and track series out and make notes and kind of fit them into an article as I go. So that's why I'm able to and then, tonight I started working on it when it was 38:20. And then had to kind of change some of the stuff around and alter some observations and things like that. But it's just about getting it. It's just about working on it as we go. Yeah. And then also trying to make sure I'm ready to get it out so I could get back here and we could do the podcast.
Right. A couple comments here. Dennis says limited running lanes for such a slow developing running plays. Interior O-line is not big and Madden looks slow.
Yeah.
And Tony, I agree with you on this. He says our line did not really push the defense off the line like last year. 23 and 25, meaning Tyree and Williams, barely had any room to run anywhere. Completely agree with that. Yeah. Completely agree with that. I'm with you, Tony. I'm with you.
Yep.
Mountain Man says, I would be in hog heaven if the Irish QB had any running ability at all. They even had quarterback draws for him that were not good. They didn't do any draws for him. It was a counter. It was a lead play.
A couple of those he were just stepped up and ran.
Yeah, there was only one designed quarterback run that I saw, and it was that 3rd and 5, which obviously didn't go well. We don't agree with that call.
I think there was one play that looked like a draw because he just saw the hole open so quickly. I have to go back and watch the film again. I could be wrong on that, but just lucky he saw it. And
to me, there was only one designed run that I saw. So, right.
In the short yardage run game tonight was a problem as well. Mm-hmm. That's got to get a lot better. Got to get a lot better. I appreciate you. Appreciate DL call. Coach C, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate you too. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
Mike Hoff, as you're looking for some more events, I've just got some of these down here. Mike Hoff, do you think this overall conservative nature that BK has nurtured needs to change? Yes.
Absolutely.
And again, I don't want to call it conservative. I think you're correct. I'm not saying you're saying is wrong. I think it's just this. It's a okay. You got the lead. Let's string this thing out, and I hate that. I hate it. If you get an 18-point lead and you want to string the game out on Wisconsin, go for it. Right? You got to know your opponent, and to me, you tonight was the night where you needed to put the pedal to the metal and develop an attitude and develop a mentality, and it was a missed opportunity for that, Vince. That was my thing. That was my frustration.
Did you hear about it says Simon had a shoulder injury?
I didn't hear that.
No.
And I'm reading through Mike's the injury article, and I didn't hear that either. I'm sure somebody's reporting that, and then he shouldn't have played.
Yeah, exactly.
If the shoulder injury is the reason he played like that, then he shouldn't have played.
But I will say that I don't think it was an injury. He played the way he played last year. So, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of Keys hate in here. Not enjoying that.
Just whatever. Just randomly pick a guy and just say,
look, he didn't have a big game because they didn't have time to get him the ball.
There was couple times, especially like the touchdown pass to Joe Wilkins, Lawrence Keys was breaking open wide over the middle. If Jack Cohn would have, let's say they'd have bracketed Wilkins and say gone like cover 2, Lawrence Keys is coming open. He'd have caught it and ran. Right. He had his guy beat by multiple yards. John, go ahead, Vince.
Nope. Obi Kenobi.
Great. I love it.
It says, I'm a bit more optimistic, I guess. On many of those successful runs by Florida State, we had guys there. They just didn't tackle. First game in a crazy environment in a year and a half for a young team.
Yeah. Right. It doesn't excuse those things, right, Vince? I mean, it's just
absolutely. I agree with that. I mean, look, they did have guys there. There were a lot of missed tackles. And there's
usually.
Yeah, I mean, usually. That's correct. And sometimes there were contain issues. And look, again, a lot for the defense to clean up. Okay? Just period, end of discussion.
we need to be able to say that, right? And this is what we want our channel to be. We want it to be able to be critical, but also not emotional or over. Right. You know what I mean? Like,
and look,
we
can get as emotional as the next guy.
If we see this in game 3 and 4, then yes, it carries a whole different tone. But again, go look at college football in the last couple of days and see what was going on, and you're going to say, you know what, they got a lot of stuff to clean up, but they're in a pretty decent place.
Yeah. I don't know if he's being sarcastic here or not, but Joe Salvatore says, can you guys talk about the officiating a little more?
I think he's being serious because it was terrible.
It was really bad. It was really.
But you shouldn't have given the officials a chance to make the play. I mean, it was bad.
Well, and there was even one that they called against Florida State, and I had the TV on, and then I also had it on my laptop, which was behind, so I could try to watch things, a second time. And when they called the snap infraction, I didn't see it. Mm-hmm. Even when I watched it on the second one, he didn't do anything to the ball, and they called snap infraction. That was one that was bad. The roughing the kicker.
I wonder if somebody barked something, and that's what I called it.
Okay.
Because you can also get a snap infraction for yelling hike or
that's true.
You're talking about the one on the Florida State defense, right?
No, it was on their offense. He called it on number 51, which I think was their center.
Yeah. He might have said something,
that's fair.
But it could also just be but
that makes sense.
But I'm saying is but it wouldn't shock me if they just flat out missed it.
Yeah. There was just a lot of missed calls, and there was a lot of calls that were made that were not good.
Most of which went against one team, the road team.
Sure, absolutely.
But it was a poorly. I mean, I'll never get over the not calling roughing on that. That was so bad. Brian Kelly almost lost his mind, and he kept repeating. He spun him all the way around. The guy was he spun him all. You could see his lips. But he spun him all the way around. It just was a horrible.
It was really, really bad. Really bad. It's funny. To Tony, who's been fairly negative, we get it. He says the defensive line was good. And the very next person says the D-line is good, but no depth. Them boys were gassed in the third and the fourth.
They played 12 defensive linemen tonight.
Right, which they've never done before. Because that's not – they're so deep – that they can play that many. They are very, very deep, and they have good depth.
Yeah.
D-Reth says, just got here. Was the O-line back to catching blocks again? Tonight, yes, they were.
Yep.
Yes, they were.
Agree. Vince, where are you at?
12-19. 2-19. I wish it was 12-19.
We're going to have to – I want to scroll through here and get the last couple because I have about 4 articles I have to write tonight before I go to bed and then get up early for a flight tomorrow.
Here we go.
So I just want to go through.
Jay Wiki, I get this vibe that a lot of people are down. Missed tackles again. FSU wasn't overly methodical offensively. Cone looked great. We put up 41. It's game 1. Call me optimistic.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Yep. I'm with you. Huh. I'm sorry. This is just funny.
My son is being recruited by Bishop Sycamore.
Cuba Puig says, how does this win affect recruiting? I don't think it'll affect it any. I mean, it's, I just feel like it's a situation where it's always a good win to beat a team like Florida State. But I actually think if you're talking about head-to-head with Florida State, if anything, this actually would have helped Florida State a little bit because, hey, look how close we were to a playoff team. You missed an opportunity to really bury them, and that would have helped recruiting a lot more. But, again, you still won, and I've always said one game doesn't often sway recruits unless it's a big game versus big team versus big team.
Right.
This game wasn't going to necessarily sway anybody. You missed a chance to kind of bury Florida State a little bit, but it's not going to affect it too much other than the positive of you won.
Right. I thought you'd enjoy that one, Brian.
Oh.
D-Rev says, luckily Quinn excels at teaching technique. LOL. Matt D says, late in the game, ABC put up Cone's stats. I thought to myself, if Indy loses, I'm going to feel bad for him. He had a solid night. I also learned that he won't be winning a foot race, though.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's true. But he was running a lot tonight when he didn't need to be.
Yeah. I want to put Bronx ND fan. I'll keep it the football X's and O's. Come on, man. I think you're overreacting a little bit, okay? I had some fun with it at the beginning. Whatever. We're all good, man. I'm not upset with you. It's all good. It was funny.
You can go grab that super
Braden
chat.
Steele, the defense needs to shore up tackling, but the upside is on this defense is higher than any in recent school history. Cone can operate this offense well. I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is a good one too here. Adario Jones says, I was pleased with Brian Kelly's post-game comments. He knows we need a lot to work on and didn't say things that were politically correct. Vince, I didn't listen to the PC. You did. Do you agree with this sentiment? Did he come across as someone who realized, hey, there's a lot of – he didn't do the whole, hey, we just won the game. That's all that matters. Did he sound like a guy that said, hey, we got a lot to clean up?
He looked like somebody who was happy they got a win, right? Mm-hmm. And he knew how close they were to not getting a win. And he was very forthcoming about the work that needs to get done. Mm-hmm. Bottom line, I thought he was genuine tonight. And he wasn't making excuses for the quarterback or anybody else.
Wasn't a lot of excuses to make for the quarterback tonight. But
no. But you know what I mean?
You're talking about the pass. Yeah. I got you. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah.
They didn't make an excuse for the O-line, so is what you're saying. The defense, it wasn't like, hey, Florida State did a great job. And I mean, I'm sure there probably was that. But so if what you're saying is accurate, and I believe you, Vince, because you listened to it, that's good to know that he. Yeah. And the execution thing, I mean, clearly he's making a joke, but his joke is like, we didn't execute tonight. That,
But he's right.
Yeah. And it wasn't like, hey, look, we played well, but Florida State just, blah, 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 like he wouldn't have passed. I love it. I mean, if that's, I'm happy with that. And then Matt D says Kelly wasn't rude to anyone. It was a good PC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He wasn't rude to anybody. I agree with that.
Fat Fish with another super chat. Appreciate you. Everybody say it together. Let it play out. This is the first game we won. Woo-sa. Okay.
Fat Fish bringing it hot.
Eagle Fang. Great. Did the refs have money on FSU tonight? My goodness. Not calling the roughing the punter call pissed me the blank off so bad. I'm glad Indy beat Florida State with the refs tonight. That's a great. Did they have money on that? Like, did they take the under?
Let me tell you. Let me tell you. If they call that, I probably win money tonight, and I didn't. So there you go.
Yeah, Ethan Kineski. I think that will be the best defensive front we play in the regular season. It'll be one of. Yes, it'll be one of. Yeah, I think so.
We can
Luke Kirkwood going right to the moral story.
Yep, exactly.
John French asked, Vince, as you're looking for some more, I just want to get through these last couple real good ones. They're all good. It's just I gotta go. Do you think the Indy players take this one as a negative or positive? They better take it as a positive, because here's what I mean by that. I'm gonna be if I'm Tom Reese and I'm Marcus Freeman, I'm all over him in a lot of ways.
Sure,
of stuff we got to clean up. But at the end of the day, the thing I'm saying to him as well is, hey, listen, guys, we went on the road, played Florida State, made a million mistakes that we know we're better than that, and we still got the W. That's what we're capable of. We need to be better. And if we are, we can play with anybody. That's what I think good coaches will say and do. And I think these coaches will say that. And that's what good captains will say and do. And that's what good teams will say and do. So I think they're going to take this as a positive. There's going to be a lot of negativity from a breaking down the film of things that we didn't do well. That's a negative. But from an overall picture of what you're asking, John, I think they're going to take this as a positive, and they should, because they did not bring their A game today. They didn't. They brought as a team, throwing out B minuses to everybody. Like you get a B minus and you get a B minus. But as a team, they brought their B minus game, C plus game in some areas, and they still got a dub. Right. That's the key.
Steve Perry got a super chat for us. Thanks, Steve. He says, do you guys agree that Jack Cohn will succeed where Book did not in the perimeter passing game, 50-50 balls, fades, etc.? He's methodical with his delivery.
I think, yes, he'll succeed there. He's more willing, as we saw tonight, to take those.
Yeah,
if I see a one-on-one, I'm taking that shot.
Yep.
Right. And if you think about it, he threw 4 just pure go routes tonight that I can think of. Right. He threw 1 to Lindsey, 1 to Wilkins, and 2 to Austin. He threw 1 away. He had another one he threw away. So he went 3 of 5 on deep balls on the outside. Plus he had a couple corner routes to Mayer. So yeah, I mean, I'll be willing to bet you they got close to 10. I'll bet you they were double digits in throws past 10 yards or 20 yards past line of scrimmage.
That's great.
At least past the 15 yards. You would never have seen anything close to that last year.
Yeah, exactly. Chris Built 1218 says, "What's up, guys? Thanks for continuing to bless us. Can't get enough. The front seven couldn't get off blocks. Do you guys agree? It looked like the D-line was always right there, but the back would slip right by. More in the second half than in the first half. I mean, I thought that they were nobody was blocking them in the first half. I mean, they were getting by guys, and they were doing really, really
and
well.
then in the first half, this is also why I felt like going to the 3-down look was not as good. In the first half, when he would spin off somebody, there was somebody else right there to get him. I think of the one play, I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Foskey, maybe out of pressure. Maybe it might have been Myron Tagovailoa-Mosa. He spun around and both Adam Alolas hit him at once.
Yeah.
And J.D. Bertrand was right there too.
Right.
We weren't seeing as much of that in the second half, in my opinion.
Tommy's always bringing the heat on you, Brian. He says, Brian, no excuses. You can sleep on the plane.
Not if I got an hour and a half drive to the airport. So I won't be on the plane if I fall asleep at the wheel. You know?
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah, sorry, man. But, I don't have that driving background that you got, my friend. So I can't make it as long. I want to say something here real quick too, Vince. So last year, Ian Book threw 41 balls at least 20 yards past the line of scrimmage. That's an average of 3.4 per game. Okay. In 2019, where they were a little bit more aggressive, Ian Book threw, 63 balls of at least 20 yards. And if you divide that by the games they played, it was 4.8, which is a okay number. I guarantee you they were at least doubled that first number, at least double that tonight. I'd be surprised if they weren't at least at 10 balls, at least 15 or more. I bet you they crept up on 10 for 20 plus as well.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Fat Fish with another super chat. Thanks, man. By the way, Kyle Hamilton's second pick was sick.
That was one of the best defensive plays I've ever seen in person.
That was unbelievable. I mean, he covered 3/4 of the field,
and it was a blown play. It was a big opportunity for four. It went from oh crap, this because it happened right in front of me from where I was sitting, Vince. It went from oh crap. I watched it happen. I'm watching Jordan. I see Jordan Travis scramble, and I'm seeing Cam Hart, and I think it was a linebacker. We're all over this receiver, and the guy turned up field, and they both thought the other ones. They looked at each other, and they both thought he was going to go. And I'm like, oh crap, they're going to score. And then I see Kyle Hamilton take 5 steps to cover 40 yards.
It's unbelievable.
And now he breaks it up. I'm like, oh, he may break that up. And then all of a sudden he doesn't just break it up; he picks it off. It was one of the most unreal. Yeah,
I mean,
it was one of the best. And then of course gets the NIL penalty.
Well,
but it was a phenomenal play. Phenomenal play. One of the best individual plays I've ever seen a defensive back make in person. I mean, it was special.
Mike Huff says, wish the 22 linebacker class was here now.
Yes, so does probably Marcus Freeman.
Yeah,
especially if you saw the way Nolan Ziegler played on Saturday. He was tremendous. And Josh Burnham, yeah. Jalen Sneed, Jr. I mean, yeah. Yep.
All right. You ready? I think we're ready to.
Yep. And look, I'm sure there's plenty of more great questions, and I appreciate everybody being a part of it. And
yes,
but it's almost 3:00 in the morning. I've got a few articles to write and proof, and get ready to head back home tomorrow. So Vince, you'll be doing the show tomorrow at 12:55, or excuse me, 12:30.
12:30
with Sean Davis.
Yes,
and we're going to try to do a show tomorrow night, sort of upon further review. We'll let y'all know. It just depends on kind of how my travel go. I don't want to commit to it because then if I have flight delays and things like that, but we're going to try. So make sure that's why you got to have the notification bell on. You got to subscribe, hit the notification bell, because when we put a show up, you'll see it. And so tomorrow's show will be the tomorrow night show. If we're able to do it, will be more of a after Vince and I have been able to dive into the film and sort of make some, so I'm not just going to rehash the stuff we talked about. We're going to, watch the line a little bit more, watch the defense a little bit more, and just really dive into it and have more of okay, we've looked at the film, let's think. And I would encourage all you to do the same too. We want you to do the same thing. We want you to say, okay, I had my emotional reaction. Vince and I had our emotional reactions. Now go watch the film and let's come back and talk some ball. Okay. And Bronx ND fan, I hope you're back tomorrow and you don't just have to talk ball. Okay. And so I don't want you to think that you do. So I appreciate everybody being part of the show tonight. Vince, thank you for staying up with me.
Yeah, man.
Really appreciate you. And Notre Dame's 1-0.
1-0. That's what matters.
1-0. And we will talk to you all again tomorrow. Well, actually, today.
It'll be like hours. Yeah, like 9 hours. We'll be right back.
1-0. Got it done. Have a good night.